Hi, welcome to today's episode of Community Living. My name is Malebunkosi, and in this series, we cover financial glossaries related to financial jargon that you might be using in your financial journey as you become more financially literate and financially savvy. Okay, that was quite a mouthful, but we're gonna dive right into it. So today's episode is related to an understanding of credit, where is it used, why is it used, and what is it exactly, right? So the approach that will be used is basically answering like using the 5 why approach, right? What is it? Why do you actually get credit? Where do you get credit? How do you get credit? And maybe when do you actually have to get credit, right? So those are some of the questions we'll be getting answers to. And another thing that I just wanted to mention, that all the episodes that I've been releasing so far, it's not financial advice, but it's actually a financial opinion. So if you are looking for financial advice, please do consult an accredited financial advisor. So you can just do mini Google search there, and you should be able to find an accredited financial advisor. And another way to see if someone is an accredited financial advisor is to check if they are registered with the FICA, and they should have membership number of some sort, right? So with any type of profession, someone has to get a membership number to actually partake in being that a professional in that type of profession, right? So yes, again, let's go back to the topic of today, credit. So everyone would be thinking like, why are we discussing credit? It's a very obvious topic of everyone should know what credit is, why do you get credit, where do you get credit, and so forth. But I think what this series is trying to do, or what I'm trying to do with the series, is ensure that we have an understanding of these financial concepts, not just the use of this concept in the English language, right? So we do have an understanding of this concept in terms of the use in the English language, but what do they actually mean in financial terms? Dive right into it. So the first question is, what is credit, right? So I think that the answer to that question is made up of factors or components of what makes up credit. One being that there usually is a borrower and a lender. So if we're looking at the people or the actors within what we'll call credit, borrower and a lender, right? And in terms of the relationships, we'll say there'll be like an asset and a liability involved in what is called credit, right? So one being that if I borrow you money, in a sense, that the money is an asset to me, right? And especially if it has you return it with some interest, it becomes an asset. But to you, because it is debt, it's a liability, right? Meaning that it has like a negative impact towards your net worth, right? And then I've already mentioned like the two other factors related to credit, one being that there is interest and also the payback period, right? Because with credit, you usually have a period in which you are allowed either to have no interest incurred, or within that period they tell you how much interest have you incurred on whatever it is that you're paying back, right? Or paying for. So yes, so that is the first question. And the second question is, why would one get credit, right? So obviously, as I've said, this is a personalized experience. So in my case, I started to attain like credit facilities or things like credit card because I wanted to actually start creating like my credit history, right? So I wanted to develop a credit history, hence I started that. And also it helped me to buy things that I couldn't afford on my own, but I can be able to pay back within, for me, in my case, in a short period of time, right? I'll try to pay back in a short period of time. And then which I guess which institutions actually offer what is called credit. So there are multiple institutions that offer credit, right? So you have banks that will offer different type of credit. You have the different types of credit being that you can maybe get like a personal loan, you can get a home loan, you can get a vehicle financing. So the different financial institutions or financial service providers that will offer credit, right? It's not just banks. And then you have, let's just say for phones, right? If you have your cell phone, you've got your network providers like your Telkom, Vodacom, having what is called like a service credit. A service credit meaning that they offer you a cell phone, and then you, in return for that, you're paying a certain amount of money every single month, right? That is credit as well. So another thing that most people don't notice as credit is actually your utility bills, right? So your utility bill, you essentially use some kind of let's just say water, waste, sewage. You're using all those facilities in advance, right? So you're using them, and at some point they bill you and say, okay, you have used this and here's the amount. Hence you get interest or arrears, right? They call areas. Oh, sorry, my English language sometimes. So hence you have to pay a bit more if you default on your payment. Yeah, there are things like defaulting on payments, but I don't want to get into the technicalities of credit. Remember this in the introductory video, right? So this is just to introduce people to what credit is and not to go into the technicalities of it all, right? In terms of where, I've mentioned where exactly, right? By answering which type of credit, or I guess which type of credits are available, I went to where, and like I followed I answered the which and where together, and then how do you attain credit? That's actually very interesting, right? But then there are two ways that I've found online, or even from talking with a couple of my friends, be it that it's very hard to initially receive some form of credit. So the first thing that they ask you when you're trying to apply for some form of credit is for your credit history, in a sense, right? So it is one of the essential requirements to say, okay, what is your credit history? But if you've never had a credit history, let's just say you're straight out of university, you've never used anything related to credit, they want a credit history for you to have access to credit, right? So there are two ways that I have found works. So if you are a parent, or if you have parents, please ask them to, during your university years and maybe in high school, to open up a clothing account on your behalf, right? Because things like membership for gym and so forth, they don't count. It's only things like clothing account, cell phone, and maybe a credit card. So if your parents can open up some type of account for you that has a credit ability. So okay, the second one is to actually get credit with the bank in which you have been having like your normal bank account, like your debit bank account or your check account or your current account, right? So whoever you're banking with, because they know your financial history, right? They've been with you through your financial journey. they will be the more willing party to offer you some kind of credit. So those will be the first people that you approach whenever you want to start in your credit journey, if I might call it that. When you start to acquire some form of credit, you could ask for like a normal credit card so that you can be able to find a way of changing from what is called a thin file. So a thin file is someone with a zero credit history, right? So when you change that status from a thin file to actually starting generating a credit score for yourself, which looks into like various factors like how long have you had various accounts, the type of accounts that you have as well, and also your credit utilization. Are you overusing your money, right? So it looks at various factors and then they give you like a certain score. And also you can get things like your credit report on a get it on a yearly basis. But I've found out that, okay, not found out, I've known for a very long time that Clear Score actually gives you a credit score, not a report, but a credit score on a monthly basis. So I don't know why. I tried to check the TransUnion one. I don't know why they make us pay for that one. I'm still trying to figure out what is like the catch there. Why am I paying for a service that's available for free? And I've also went into when do you actually get credit. So you can start in university by opening certain accounts so that you can have a credit history by the time you start working, and you can be able to take bigger credit with a healthy credit history already. So you already have a healthy credit history, so you can start negotiating like in terms of your interest. So another thing when it comes to credit is that the interest rate is not fixed, right? So for personal loans, that one might be the only one where it's fixed because you're semi-desperate. So that's another thing that people must know, that it looks like you're semi-desperate when you go for a personal loan, because for any other type of credit, you should be able to use other credit facilities. So for credit, for like, let's just say day-to-day purchases, you can use your credit card, right? If you want a car, you can use vehicle financing. If you want a house, you can use a home loan. So what is a personal loan actually for? So a personal loan shows that you are in debt, or you are in over your head, or you don't know how to manage your finance. So hence the interest rate is skyrocket high, right? So they usually don't negotiate there, because you are in this, like, usually desperate when you go and ask for a personal loan or an overdraft facility, right? Those two are usually the interest rate is non-negotiable. But for everything else, you are able to negotiate. You are able to reduce the interest rate as well from the way you pay, right? So I think I've covered almost all the important things when it comes to credit. So thank you for joining this episode. See you in more episodes, and please remember to click subscribe and like the video if you like the content that was covered, as well as just share and spread the word regarding community living. And also I wish you like the best of luck with your financial literacy journey, and I hope we all become more financially savvy. So thank you. So